Hi, I'm Nicholas Babaya from the Centre for Risk Analysis. We might think of the South African government's budget as being a purely fiscal matter, but the issue of deciding how much money to spend where naturally comes with a few political implications. In this video clip, the CRA's David Ansara talks with Bronwyn Williams from the YouTube channel Discourse ZA about the recent government budget and the political implications therein. Take a look.
But I'm coming back to my earlier question there, is to say that what should they have done differently with the budgets? Because was there fat to cut in terms of expenditure, and if so, where? And are there reasonable places to find more sources of finance to fill that hole? Because those are the two ways you can fill a hole. You can either just ignore it, pretend it's not there, or you have to fill it with something, or you have to reduce your expenditure. So what were the tricks perhaps that could have been played that haven't been looked at with enough seriousness, and why is that? I mean, obviously there's huge political will across a lot of the spending commitments that we have. So I don't know how feasible it is to actually cut a lot of those entitlements, but perhaps there are places we could look to cut fat, or other places we could look for sources of finance. What would you have done differently? Or what would you suggest that should have been looked at?
Well, remember that a budget speech is also a political exercise. So it's not just an accountant who stands up and says, well, this is how we're balancing the books. There's also political considerations that go into how spending is allocated. And the minister was very quick to point out that this is not an austerity budget, and seemed to use that word austerity in a bit of a pejorative sense, saying we don't want to go down the same path that Greece did. But if you unpack this idea of austere public finances, this is, I don't think, such a bad thing. Living within your means, being prudent about what you choose to spend on. And Tito Mboweni indicated that over the next 3 years, he wants to reduce spending by about 269 billion rand. And that he put at the door of the Minister of Public Service, saying that we're negotiating with public sector unions to try and reduce spending. But he can't enforce that himself, Tito Mboweni. He is reliant on other role players to essentially trim down the size of the public service. So we also have a very heavy component of managers within the civil service who earn a lot more than ordinary civil servants. And we have approximately 2 million people in South Africa who in some capacity work for the state. Bear in mind that we only have about 15 million people who actually have a formal job in South Africa. So that's a significant, it's just over an eighth of the entire workforce works for the state. So a lot of this borrowing that we spoke about, this R500 billion rand deficit, is going into financing government consumption, essentially. These are not value generating activities. You can make an argument to say, well, public welfare payments that you indicated, that's an important source of income for people who live on the margins of our society, who don't have access to employment opportunities. They're dependent on the state, and that is a significant quantum of money. But I think more concerning is this civil service that is just ballooning and has been growing since essentially the Zuma years. And so I think that is where the politics comes in, because the minister, when he starts to suggest, well, maybe we need to turn off the money taps, that's when you're going to get pushback from public sector unions that are within the Tripartite Alliance. So Tripartite Alliance is COSATU, ANC, and of course the South African Communist Party. And Mr. Ramaphosa is heavily reliant on those alliance partners who essentially propelled him to power. And he has indicated as such, his primary concern is maintaining the internal unity and stability of the alliance. And so when you turn off those money taps, you essentially start to compromise the cadre deployment system, which is essentially based on being able to deploy cadres of the movement to institutions of the state, whether it's a state-owned enterprise or a government department, and use that power of patronage as leverage to be able to achieve political ends. So what we saw was signaling from the finance minister, yes, we want to reduce spending, but I don't think he has the power or even the will to really take on the unions. He seems to be isolated within the cabinet, regularly countermanded by his cabinet colleagues and the president himself. So this is where the economics and the politics are starting to clash.
Thanks for watching this video. To watch the rest of the conversation, click the link in the description. If you enjoy our videos, give this video a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave a comment. For more strategic risk services, follow the link in the description and gain access to our 30-day free trial. Until next time.